Hello. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to reInvent 2003. I'm super excited that honored that you are all here. First of all, I'm not sure how many of you have wondered why the first session is on application modernization. But when I discovered our session was scheduled as the opening one, I asked myself, why? After careful consideration, I conclude that the reason for this choice is because when their customers think about AWS public cloud today, they no longer view it as a merely infrastructure for cost saving. Instead, they see it as a crucial accelerator for their business growth. That's precisely what we'll be discussing today, application modernization. With that, I'd like to introduce you to the speakers who will be guiding today's session on this topic. Firstly, my name is Young Bube. I'm a senior practice manager at AWS Professional Services Korea. I'm in charge of a team that specializes in application modernization and certification. And next, Son So is a research fellow and team lead of DevOps team at LG Uplus. Since joining the LG Uplus, her contribution has been instrumental to the success of this journey. She has proven indispensable to LG Uplus Media Service as our DevOps team lead. Lastly, we have Hee-jung Lee, Senior Cloud Application Architect at AWS Professional Services. He is the driving force behind our challenging application modernization effort, always considering potential business outcomes that our customers aim to achieve. In this story, he plays a vital role in our customers' successful journey within AWS Professional Services Korea. All right, let's delve into what we'll be discussing today. Firstly, I will provide an introduction to who the LG Uplus is and what their media platform entails, with AWS journey of modernization and migration. Next, Hee-jung will guide you through the understanding business problem and challenges to how AWS Professional Services helped LG Uplus accelerate modernization. Following that, Son will take a deep dive into how LG Uplus modernize and migrate to AWS seamlessly and business outcome. Lastly, we will conclude this session with letting you know our email address to communicate regarding on this topic. Please don't hesitate to ask us any question and your thoughts. And we will do our best to provide with answers. Okay, then let's start with fundamentals. It's crucial for us to gain a clear understanding of who our customer, LG Uplus, is, and they'll get acquainted with their media platform. Many of you here may already familiar with LG Electronics, a well-known company for white goods such as TV, washing machine, and more. Similarly, LG Uplus is another subsidiary of LG Corporation. It's worth noting that LG Corporation ranks the second largest company in South Korea. As for LG Uplus, it holds the position of third largest wireless carrier in South Korea, boasting 25% of market share as of January 2023. And it's also an internet service provider having 4.9 subscribers as of 2023. As a noteworthy development for LG Uplus occurred in December 2007 when it launched its first media services known as LG Uplus IPTV. This service has garnered an impressive 5.3 million subscribers. In 2019, following the first launch of its services, LG Uplus initiated discussion with AWS Professional Services Korea to address the challenges they were facing, a topic that we'll be discussing in more greater detail by the Hee-jung and Son later on. These slides highlights the key services of the services offered by LG Uplus Media Services. LG Uplus IPTV employs a set-top box to deliver its services, while LG Uplus Mobile TV is tailored for the mobile smartphones. Additionally, Casual and Idol Plus are specialized contents that cater to children, newer generation respectively. And Sporky Sports is a mobile theme park specialized in sports. As a relatively late entrant into this space, LG Uplus has invested significantly to bolster its competitive position. For instance, within the scope of this journey we'll be discussing today, these services has evolved into the OTT, over-the-top services, collaborating with major platforms such as Netflix, Disney Plus, and YouTube. Following the modernization journey, the services on the AWS public cloud now supports an impressive 5 million daily active set-top boxes, handle 190 million daily requests, and processing 136 million daily data requests. This is a testament to our remarkable availability and reliability of the services. Moreover, this high-level performance underscores the service's exceptional business agility, as it enables the seamless launch of new services, updates, and maintenance the activity in real time without any interruptions, while actively supporting the existing operations. So let me provide you with a brief overview of how these customers' AWS journey has unfolded. And then we'll delve deeper into their experience with our two speakers. This page summarizes AWS journey of LG Uplus Media Platform. The key point to focus on here is that entire journey was carried out incrementally after 1 year preparation of the preparation period, avoiding Big Bang approach. At the outset, LG Uplus faced significant challenges with over 980 APIs that had been maintained for more than a decade since it launched in 2007, with complex dependencies between them. To address this issue, to complete this journey successfully, LG Uplus adopted the phased approach, collaborating with AWS Professional Services, executing it over a span of 2 years. The first year was dedicated for the transformation. They built portfolio, designed cloud architecture, established DevOps environment, including robust CI/CD pipelines using AWS Professional Services. Building upon the robust foundation, they began the incremental migration of APIs without any disruption to ongoing services, as illustrated in this graph. By April 2022, the second year of the journey, they had modernized 20% of their traffic after the gradual transition to the small scale. In August of the same year, they refactored and migrated 50% of the traffic to AWS public cloud. In the middle of the application modernization period, LG Uplus started migration applications targeted for replatform in October 2022. Finally, in April of this year, they successfully completed migration 100% of entire traffic without any impact on end customers. Then, from now on, Hee-jung will continue to discuss in more detail. Hee-jung, over to you.
Hi, everyone. Today, I'm really excited to share a successful modernization journey of our customer. My name is Hee-jung, a senior cloud application architect in AWS team. And my job is to help customers with their application modernization journey to AWS. I was one of the members who worked on migration modernization journey with LG Uplus team. To start off, I'm going to talk about what their business problem and challenges were, why LG Uplus decided to start modernization journey to AWS. Youngbu mentioned earlier, LG Uplus Media Platform Service provides media service such as movie, drama, TV programs on demand. We watch on-demand videos in the morning, during the day, and even in the night. These are 24/7 service. The customer experience one day started quality of their service after releasing new features. It was like suddenly stopping to play while user were watching, or unknown errors appearing on the screen, or the set-top box not responding to remote control. When you are having a great time watching your family, and it suddenly stopped playing, it was a bad user experience. Under the hood, these complaints were caused by lack of CPU resource for single Oracle database. Some of the new SQL queries, including the new features, use a lot of CPU resource, thus impacting the overall service quality. So LG Uplus decided to optimize the SQL queries to reduce the CPU usage. However, it took about 10 days to resolve all complaints because they needed a new application manually. In order to deploy new application, the developer had to visit the on-premise data center and upload a new binary file. Also, there were hardware too. This incident led LG Uplus start thinking about modernizing their service with AWS. Firstly, LG Uplus Media Platform Service was very old legacy system that was 15 years old. Over the year, there was a growing number of different types of client device and users, but the architecture they were using had not been evolved to accommodate the changing market and customer requirements. So their service had to be modernized to respond quickly to the voice of customer and the business agility. LG Uplus decided to transform from monolithic architecture to microservice architecture for their workload and rewrite all of the legacy code to modern Java application with containerization. The team also decided to move away from their single Oracle database and migrate to multiple AWS Aurora database. And transform their operation model, bring in DevOps and infrastructure as a code. However, LG Uplus Media Platform Service could not be interrupted even for a minute or even a second. This was challenging for executing migration and modernization. Imagine you are moving a train, and there is a problem with the wheel. The train is traveling at a very fast speed. Wheel must be repaired while traveling. So this modernization journey was like to this traveling train, and we had to find a solution for modernization without stopping. And was to build LG Uplus technical competency. At that time, LG Uplus had been relying on external associates to develop and operate their media platform service. But they had to lead their partners in this modernization journey to AWS. In the beginning, LG Uplus was not familiar with developing modern application, AWS architecture, and data migration. So LG Uplus decided to invest in their developing their internal technical competency. This help the internal engineer to gain confidence. This modernization journey had a big sponsorship from executive level. And most importantly, LG Uplus had a strong determination to directly develop and operate their platform service on AWS in the future. Please understand executive sponsorship is a key for all digital transformation initiative, and LG Uplus senior leader well understood this. With that, I'll talk about how AWS ProServe and LG Uplus work as a team to achieve their business outcome. Our team was engaged in this modernization journey as a technical advisory. That was the project plan. When we started this journey, the first thing that we did was to decide on new software architecture and how to decompose their huge monolithic application on AWS. And the second phase was to create a CI/CD pipeline to build and deploy modernized application on AWS and design the AWS infrastructure. And then we work on the AWS architecture for data migration from the on-premise to AWS in real time. So by the second phase, we were ready to shift the modernized application from the on-premise to AWS. LG Uplus needed to operate the new platform and old platform at the same time. And the new platform had new problems. We focused on the providing technical solution on new platform so that LG Uplus can focus on managing the two production environment without stoppage of their service. When you are thinking about having a similar modernization journey, please prepare to have a strategy to operate a multiple production environment to avoid the disruption of ongoing service. Up to this point, I have briefly explained on our milestones. So let's move on to the first story of this journey. The challenge we face is to understand the business domain discovery workshop with LG Uplus and partners. So we were able to share on the business narratives, get some technical insight for the modernization, and discovering the bounded context in domain-driven design as well. Next, we had to decide on how to design the microservice architecture based on the workshop we did. Of each coupling of ignition. Finally, we could design the microservice architecture. It wasn't a final one, it's just an architecture candidate. Lastly, we had to verify the microservice architecture candidate. So based on the microservice architecture candidate, we implemented the minimum application with LG Uplus partners on AWS. As a result, we could confirm that our architecture candidate had a high performance than the on-premise system and was loosely coupled with other microservices. So we could use it as a target architecture for modernization. When you are thinking about target architecture for modernization, there is no perfect answer in architecture. You need to understand architecture trade-off along with the customer requirement. With that, let's move on to the second story of this journey. Accelerator modernization, fundamentally sound CI/CD pipeline is critical for performance of application conversion and production operation. Firstly, our team guided the CI/CD principles such as gated check-in, variable injection, immutable image, and demonstrate the new CI/CD pipeline. Secondly, our team helps LG Plus decide right instance and size with respect to cost effectiveness. Based on the AWS well-architected framework, our team regularly review their architecture and provide recommendations how to optimize their architecture to reduce the cost. Lastly, our team reviews the infrastructure as a code and guides a secure and more efficient structure for multiple environments. Please understand your architecture never a final product. It always evolves and needs a regular review. One of the customers' is data migration. LG Plus was difficult to find right instance type for migration service. Our team in on-premise data center and proposed appropriate instance type to effectively migrate initial data. After completing initial data migration, the change to data from the on-premise had to be AWS Aurora database through the Amazon MSK. At that time, there was a technical problem to data integrity. Our team reviewed the data sync application code and proposed the optimized data sync pipelines. While operating changed log from the Oracle database, there was a performance problem in delivering the data to Amazon MSK. Our team provided the proper fix for configuration of Kafka connectors to speed up the delivery performance. When you are considering the architecture for data migration in real time using the MSK, most important thing is that you understand the eventual data consistency. On the final part of my presentation, I would like to talk about operation next. The sprint backlog when technical problem and inefficient tasks occur in production environment. We prioritize the backlog through the sprint plan with LG Plus and work on the backlog during the sprint. So LG Plus was able to focus on more modernization to AWS without wasting the time due to the technical problem. Let me share some of the solutions we delivered. Amazon Elastic Kubernetes Service provides advantage that customers doesn't have to manually manage the Kubernetes control plane. It automatically updates the version of the control plane and maintains the comparability with latest version of Kubernetes. However, customers have to update the version of data plane directly. So it was usually time-consuming. It can be inefficient. So our team provided a solution to quickly upgrade the data plane without impacting the availability. So LG Plus was able to upgrade the version of data plane just within a few minutes without no impacting their service. Another problem LG Plus faced was with Amazon MSK. There was a day when Amazon MSK was transitioning to maintenance status due to the security patching. And we realized that there was a problem of the availability of the cluster. So we immediately took action and analyzed the root cause of this problem. As a result, we found that in-sync replicas and replication factor were set incorrectly. So we immediately proposed a solution to resolve the problem by adjusting the configuration of cluster. LG Plus was able to recover high availability of cluster regardless of maintenance time. Up to this point, I have talked about how AWS Plus helped LG Plus. Next, I'll pass on the time to Sunny. Sunny will share a practical modernization story and what was their business outcome in this modernization. Sunny, over to you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Han Sung. I am Research Fellow and IPTV DevOps Lead in LG Uplus. I'm super excited and honored to be here with you. Yeah. By taking the mic from my previous teammate, Hee-jung, I will introduce how LG Uplus modernized and migrated to AWS seamlessly. Two core values we should keep in mind during migration are non-disruptive and long-term. Our service is media service that demanding very challenging requirements. Nobody imagine TV stops. You know, you never imagine your TV screen stops or hiccups while you're watching TV. This is why our first core value is non-disruptive transition. Incoming traffic never stops 365 days and 24 hours. And the customers easily notice the service accident by TV screen hiccups or delay. And next, our service has been maintained for a long time, and there are many APIs accumulated for the long time. With a large number of APIs, we need detailed migration portfolio. This is why our second core value is long-term transition. In the past, I've worked on some challenging non-disruptive migration projects. Fortunately, the migration of the past and the current one all have been successfully completed. Based on these experiences, I've narrowed down 4 key practices to a successful and seamless transformation. Cloud and DevOps, you know, this one. This first one is probably the most critical one when you want to have business agility and infra flexibility. Cloud and DevOps is a key strategy of most modernization and migration projects. Cloud provided us flexibility, scalability, and high availability. DevOps accelerate development and deployment cycles, and this results in business agility. Here are legacy infrastructure and software development problems that LG Uplus had before. There is hardware inflexibility and operational difficulty in LG Uplus media platform. We should purchase, equip, manage the bare metal hardware by ourselves. This made the service development take a long time and limited to hardware computing power. Cloud solved all of these issues and provided us flexibility and scalability. In addition, Infra as Code has maximized the productivity of infrastructure management. Large changes and long release cycle is one of the reasons that affect badly both developers' agility and service reliability. Cloud-native deployment pipeline automated and accelerate this process and relieve the developer's burden. Previously, LG Uplus deployed binary files manually, and this was one of the big problems. Configuration changes and version control over binary files are not trivial because an application is not affected not only by the binary itself, but also the environmental context. Developers' hands-on deployment can lead to human error, making deployment process a scary and difficult task for them. We resolved this issue to set up immutable image-based deployment. In this slide, I'd like to share you the basic CI/CD pipeline that LG Uplus applied to. The single source of truth policy is separate CI and CD. the policy of applying one image for multiple environments reduces the impact of service bugs by deploying verified images to the public. The large number of deployment pipeline and platform configurations of multiple environments are managed with enhanced GitOps for Kubernetes, such as Argo CD AWS. The entire deployment process is fully automated, so it results in deployment speed up. It is 10 times faster than before. Changes can be deployed anytime, anywhere, regardless of time and location. This allows developers to deploy small changes frequently, and the stability of the deployment system also helps developers no longer fear deployment. The second practice is probably the most critical one when you think about long-term and incremental. That is, stable data sync pipeline. Our migration is incremental, so we need both legacy database and new database system to be consistent for a long time. Here are 3 challenges that in our database sync pipeline had before. Firstly, database types are heterogeneous. The existing database is Oracle in LG Uplus data center, and the in-transition database is PostgreSQL in AWS cloud. And the second challenge is the amount of data update. In our service, more than 500 tables are syncing, and 136 million data updates happen in a day. If we transform it to updates per second, it is 1,500 UPS. The amount is huge. The data sync latency between two databases is critical because tricky API calls such as updates to one database and reads from the other database frequently happen during migration. Hence, for incremental migration, it is critical to build stable and fast data sync pipeline. To avoid those difficulties, many of other projects choose Big Bang migration strategy. It is kind of you are moving your application and the whole data to the cloud just one overnight. This is tempting because it is simpler and cheaper than incremental approach. But it is risky and irreversible when something goes wrong. Finding issues or rolling back from Big Bang changes is extremely difficult or sometimes almost impossible. All of our concern is our customer experiences. We want seamless and non-disrupt changes so that our migration does not harm our customer experiences. So we select incremental approach. To overcome those challenges, we select high-performance distributed messaging system that is Apache Kafka. By using AWS MSK, managed streaming for Apache Kafka, we can offload the Kafka management overhead. And there are many well-developed Kafka open connectors too. MSK and Kafka connectors enabled us overcome the challenge of data sync pipeline, except one thing, that is initial data load speed. The amount of initial data is 1 terabyte, and the initial load took almost 3 days. You can easily understand we couldn't use this setting because our data sync pipeline hardly catch up 3 days gap, and this gap would get larger as time passes. It is a moment when you think about the fastest and easiest way to migrate huge amount of data. That is AWS Data Migration Service. With the help of AWS DMS, we could easily load the large amount of initial data to Postgre in some hours. Now I will recap our data sync pipeline. For main database, we select AWS Postgre, a high-performance PostgreSQL, a high-performance database engine that provides us high availability and scalability. AWS MSK for data sync pipeline is processing huge amount of data transfers consistently. One of the most challenging problems in our data sync pipeline is transfer delay. With months of analysis and many retrials, we could finally minimize the transfer delay into nearly real time. This stable and fast data sync pipeline enabled a series of API transitions to complete on schedule. The third practice is Strangler fig migration pattern. When you want to migrate your APIs to the cloud incrementally without your customer noticing it, what you firstly need is Strangler fig migration pattern. Let's look at an example of applying the Strangler fig migration pattern. Before migration, the customer requests from IPTV setup are directly received and processed by the on-premise data center. In the in-transition system, Spring Cloud Gateway intercepts the customer requests from IPTV setup and sends them to the on-premise or to the cloud. In the in-transition system, you can see that via the lookup and content curation have completed their migration to the cloud. So Spring Cloud Gateway intercepts customer requests of via the lookup and content curation and sends them to the new system while routing the rest of APIs to on-premise. It is important to note that the existing services in on-premise are still available to receive customer requests at any time. So, if any issues arise during migration, we can change the routing to the on-premise without impacting the customer experiences. Using this stable data sync pipeline and Strangler fig migration pattern, we were able to successfully make a sequential API transitions over the course of a year. First, we categorized the services into several groups based on dependencies and cohesion. We analyzed and separated the monolithic code into microservices. The modules that are lightened to be microservices were moved to the cloud one by one. And the transition jobs performed are more than 20 times. Before the transition, there were 980 monolithic legacy APIs in the on-premise data center. But after the transition, 765 APIs were modernized and located in AWS Cloud. The remaining 215 APIs were retired to achieve platform simplicity. Now I will share you the final practice, application modernization and microservice architecture. The legacy applications in LG Uplus media platform were the accumulation of many technical debts. That includes outsourced development, a focus on schedule and delivery rather than quality, ad hoc development rather than good planning and design, and a long-time operating environment without modernization. For example, the legacy applications were the tangled code of complex data and module dependencies. Services were maintained for 15 years in on-premise data center without modernization. Like other long-maintained and outsourced applications, we had few documents and no original developers remained. And the history is delivered by word of mouth. Business logic were implemented in Oracle DB queries. C and all Java Spring were not designed for business logic, but just used for wrappers of Oracle queries. The painstaking and difficult process of analyzing all the application code is one of the areas where we have benefited most AWS ProServe. Together, we analyzed the legacy code, identified the architectural characteristics of services, and redesigned them into microservices. In practice, modernization process was not as noble as it sounds in the books. Months of code analysis, design disagreement between developers, and redesign that didn't work in production were commonplace. Our desire to eliminate all the technical debts by refactoring all applications was not easy to achieve. We accepted the reality of the situation, and we changed our strategy to cloud first with re-platform. This is because we think that once the service is in the cloud, refactoring the application can be done quickly and easily on top of our cloud and DevOps foundation. As a result, we were able to complete 45% of APIs to refactoring and 33% to replatforming. If we classify refactoring and replatforming as modernization, we can consider 78% of APIs as modernized. According to AWS last year's reInvent Hub, application modernization is performed about 20% in typical migration pattern. The big 50% of migration spectrum is lift and shift, with many companies opting for a simplified migration. This pattern involves lifting the legacy apps and replacing the hardware with EC2 machine. Another 20% to adopt SaaS, software as a service, to replace them. And the remaining 10% retire, which means shutting down the service. In our case, the transformation of LG Plus Media Platform is a remarkable achievement compared to typical migration pattern. We succeeded in modernizing 78% of APIs through a combination of refactoring and replatforming. We retired 22% of APIs. Our pattern doesn't include lift and shift approach or introduction of SaaS. That means we completed full change of all applications by application modernization. Now I will share you what we gained from this migration. Our long and passionate journey to AWS Cloud finally ended in April this year. In the past 2 years, LG Plus Media Platform has been equipped with cloud, DevOps, and MSA. But more importantly, we built a culture of people and rapid development. As a transformed organization with culture of communication and sharing, the ownership and the teamwork has improved the software delivery performance by leaps and bounds. We went from twice a month deployment to on-demand deployment. Since April, deployment frequency has improved a lot, with actual measurement of deployment showing 5 times a day deployment. When change requests comes in, such as voice of customers, we are able to deploy changes within a day or 2 instead of the weeks it used to take. When an issue is found, a rollback or each improvement, which used to take 4 hours, now takes less than an hour. In conclusion, LG Uplus has grown from a low performer to a high performer to a fast and efficient organization just by moving to the cloud. As business outcome, customer experiences gets much better than before. As explained by Hee-jung previously, in November 2020, there were big setup updates that had hours of huge performance degradation due to increased database load. In order to recover from the degradation, we had to harm our customer experiences by limiting watch history footprints by 25%. After transformation, cloud service provides 4 times longer watch history footprints, as well as 5 times faster API latency. Feedback and changes for voice of customer is much faster than before. Previously, customer issues took a long time to complete. Infra engineer should get log, deliver the log to the developer, and developer should dig into his program and data and make changes and wait for another 2 weeks for deployment. Currently, we are using modernized observability systems such as Splunk, and developers now can directly access their log and easily run issue locating queries on the real-time log. You know, building a fix and deploying it is accelerated by our cloud-native CI/CD pipeline. Now, we are provide quick and accurate fixes or feedbacks to our customer within 1 or 2 days. Fast and easy scalability of AWS Aurora helped us when a sudden delay of VOD Watch happened. After migration, we found out that there was a tricky API containing heavy queries. These queries raises DB CPUs up to 80 or 90%, not 8, 9, 80, 90, very huge. Especially special time. The time was between 6 to 10 p.m., exactly when families come back home and watch TV together. If our database is on-premise, it would be almost impossible. It would be impossible to add one more DB so quickly, because buying hardware and relative DB license, equipping in, and finding and reserving special engineer for the setup, all of this will take a few days or a few months. In the cloud, we can easily solve this issue just by literally clicking the button, add the reader. Just a few minutes is enough for our customer to recover from VOD Watch delay. And this also saved my life too. The transformation of LG Uplus media platform is not over, and we are still moving forward. We completed the transformation project in April, but our products still need to change to meet customer requests and create new business opportunities. The service architecture and the media infrastructure needs to be innovated and reviewed. Our successful migration will be a key foundation to drive our service platform into a fast, agile, and efficient one to create new business opportunities in the future. Thank you for joining this session of LG Uplus Cloud Journey. That's all. Thank you.